ASEAN Secretary-General Dr. Surin Pitsuwan suggested the government urgently restore confidence and political stability in order to host the ASEAN +3 and +6 summits again after the event was postponed due to the anti-government riot in Pattaya last week. The cabinet meeting on Friday approved the rehabilitation criteria for people affected by anti-government riots by the United Front of Democracy Against Dictatorship or UDD from April the 8th to the 14th and related events. Meanwhile, Royal Thai Army Commander-in-Chief, Army Chief General Anupong Paljinda, insisted that no protesters were killed as a consequence of the military's breakup of protests by the anti-government United Front for Democracy Against Dictatorship or UDD in Bangkok. Police, military and administrative officers in Sungai Badi district in Narathiwat province joined hands in beefing up security in the southern border provinces following information that an insurgent group would create a turmoil after the Songkran festival. สวัสดีค่ะ You're watching NNT News. NNT News is brought to you by the National News Bureau of Thailand under the supervision of the Public Relations Department. We will keep you informed on what's been happening in the Kingdom of Thailand 24/7. My name is Kanya Pompankum. ASEAN Secretary-General Dr. Surin Pitsuwan suggested the government urgently restore confidence and political stability in order to host the ASEAN +3 and +6 summits again after the event was postponed due to the anti-government riot in Pattaya last week. The ASEAN Secretary-General said it was necessary for the government to quickly redeem the country's image tarnished by the postponement of the ASEAN +3 and East Asian summits. He said the summits would expand investment opportunities of the ASEAN member countries with their important trade partners such as China, Japan, Korea and Australia. Investments from these countries would greatly benefit the ASEAN economies, Dr. Surin said. Regarding the assassination attempt on top leader of the People's Alliance for Democracy, Sonthi Limthongkul, the ASEAN chief said the incident affected the international community's confidence in Thailand more or less. He said Prime Minister Mr. Abhisit Vejjajiva had assigned the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to work with the 10 ASEAN countries and their 6 trade partners in scheduling the ASEAN summits. He stated that the summit should be shortened and some issue earlier put in the agenda would be discussed during the next ASEAN summit in October this year. Meanwhile, Foreign Affairs Mr. Kasit Pitrom expressed his confidence that Thailand would be able to host the ASEAN summits again this year, and he would discuss the ASEAN +3 and +6 summit scheduled during the ASEAN senior officials meeting hosted by the Philippines in May. The minister said he believed that the ASEAN summit could be held from June onward and stressed that the government had to stabilize politics as soon as possible. The cabinet meeting on Friday approved the rehabilitation criteria for the people affected by the anti-government riot by the United Front of Democracy Against Dictatorship or UDD from April the 8th to the 14th and related events. Deputy Government spokesperson Wachara Gandika revealed that the cabinet had approved financial aid for victims which would be allotted from the expenditure budget in the fiscal budget year 2009, mid-year budget and the spare money in case of emergency. The Ministry of Social Development and Human Security has been assigned to form a committee and centre to oversee the matter. The criteria and method are based on those for people affected by the October the 7th crackdown on protesters of the People's Alliance for Democracy or PAD last year. The aid will be given according to the victims' conditions. The disabled and relatives of the dead will be financially assisted continuously concerning physical abilities rehabilitation and financial support for the victims' children on education. The cabinet stressed that rehabilitation for the victims of the recent protest disposal would be equal, prompt and fair. In addition, the Cabinet also approved an extension of emergency decree declared in the 3 restive southern border provinces and a proposal to upgrade tourism promotion as a national agenda in a bid to restore tourism industry, which was heavily affected by economic crisis and political conflicts. Pheu Thai Party's Complaint Centre for the Missing claimed that 2 people went missing and 11 people were injured as a result of the security operations to end recent protest by the anti-government United Front for Democracy Against Dictatorship, or UDD, at Din Daeng intersection. Pheu Thai Party spokesman Prampong Nopparit stated that the 2 missing Roi Et residents and another voluntary doctor residing on Lat Phrao Road reportedly disappeared since that day. He added further that victims' relatives kept calling to the Pheu Thai Party headquarters after their complaints were denied at the Bung Kum police station. Meanwhile, Royal Thai Army Commander-in-Chief, Army Chief General Anupong Paujinda, insisted that no protesters were killed as a consequence of the military's breakup of protests by the anti-government United Front for Democracy Against Dictatorship, or UDD, in Bangkok. General Anupong said the current situation was evaluated as calm and peaceful and repeated his earlier affirmations that the troops would never use force and weapons to deal with protesting groups during the security forces operation. The army chief added that the government should deliberate on the extension of emergency decree while assuring that it had no effect on the general public amid tight security by military to keep orderliness and prevent recurrence of untoward incidents. Chiang Rai Police Station has issued arrest warrants for 3 core members of United Front for Democracy Against Dictatorship, or UDD, in the province, charged with instigating illegal political unrest and collaborating with a group of red-shirt protesters. The trio of the United Front for Democracy Against Dictatorship, or UDD, comprising Mr. Thanit Bunyana-Srenikasem, Mr. Attagon Gantachai, and Ms. Puttachat Godgao, were reportedly charged with instigating people to violate the law and assembling more than 10 people with the intent of creating social turmoil and unlawful road blockade. Mr. Thanit Bunyana-Srenikasem was taken into police custody for further interrogation, while the other 2 remained at large, according to news report. Although the local atmosphere has finally returned to a peaceful one, there is still no way of knowing what the future holds. Such a chaotic situation over the past few days have built up enough fear about possible future events of chaos and bloodshed. Would history repeat itself? Kunarumon Ngamsaitong has the details.
Although we are all fighting for the one goal of democracy, part of the battle has to do with agreeing on the definition and meaning of the word. Another part of it is how to win this battle of democracy with grace and dignity. The political unrest, which emerged in the beginning of the Songkran festival this year, has inevitably resulted in a state of panic and emotional disturbances for many people. It has raised many questions. Is this really a call for democracy? Is it worth trading the blood and flesh of our own people for the kind of democracy that is being demanded? According to Associate Professor of Political Science at Chulalongkorn University, Siripan Noksuan, there are many factors in the notion of democracy which has led our society to its current situation. Firstly, in the past few years, the notion of democracy in the Thai context has constantly been distorted. There have been people from all sides who have demanded democracy, while what needs to be understood is that the democracy being demanded is a different kind of democracy that has been in action this whole time. There needs to be a general understanding of what specific values of democracy are being demanded, and a general agreement on what the meaning of democracy is. Secondly, the structure of Thai society is one that assigns the state as a caretaker of its people. This is not a fault or a weakness, but rather a common characteristic of many countries within the region. The state plays a role as a caretaker, while its citizens play the role as a care receiver. Therefore, the various demands for change that are being voiced, including the most recent situation, is for a change of who the caretaker is, rather than demanding a change in what is given to the people. Those involved in such demands from the government should keep in mind that rather than their cries for democracy, what they are truly seeking is to be taken care of within their own context.